A-minus cat. Shout out to Stunted Growth Music and most importantly Mars fam. Shout out to y'all for tapping in. This video is Capone and Noreaga could have been Queen's best duo. I definitely know who they are. I like my favorite song by Noreaga is Body in the Trunk with Nas. And then the other one, I forgot what it's called though, but it was with Capone was in jail and there's something about done, I'm just cell, just reading books, something like that. We ain't gonna talk too much without further ado. We're gonna get straight into the video.
Paper, y'all cat still hating. So now I'm shooting shots racing, shots like Gary Payton. Jose, I'm half God and half Satan. Dug it out like I'm supposed to. Straight vocal. Yeah.
Oh, this is with 50 Cent freestyle too.
Gotta keep it close. It's like we track masters, how we tone and pokey.
Used to play spin a bottle, wishing I could win the lotto. Now I blaze hollows like Desperado.
Chocha, cae de la boca. Tell them that I'm loca. Getting culo, being the boss like Hugo.
No need for peace office.
Okay.
We run the streets quiet cause the lost fight. Skip the battles back in 86.
Capone and Noreaga, also known as CNN or simply Capone and Nori /Nore. Queens, New York, active since 1995. Queens, since the beginning of hip-hop, has been a hub for rap talent. From Run DMC, Cool G Rap, LL Cool J, Mobb Deep, Nas, and of course Capone and Noreaga. They were supposed to be the next in line from Queens and rep New York as a whole, rejuvenating New York's gangsta rap sound with the potential to polish their style and cross over successfully into the mainstream, especially Noreaga. Nori was always a star in the making and in my opinion would have blew up without Capone either way, mainly because Nori was different. His vocal tone was something unique to him, as we've never seen a rapper sound like Nori before or after his prominence. Also, as a street gangsta rapper, Nori was and is certified, as he refers to himself as once being the shooter, and no one has refuted those claims. Capone was also a known street guy, maybe even a lot more than he was known as a rapper.
A little bit.
As we'll see, that was to a fault.
This song,
Nori
that was the song that I was talking about. The clip he just played, that's the song I'm talking about.
The charisma and people skills much needed to become a prominent solo artist one day. I've never seen someone who has met Nori and had something poor to say about being in his company. Anything he does on the internet, his charisma shines through, which is why even with a 7th grade education, according to he and Vlad TV, he can still be one of the leaders of the charge in urban podcasting. He and Capone together made a perfect hip-hop mix in sound, era-fitting in that gangster New York rap was at its peak, and they made great rap songs that to this day some still consider classic hip-hop music. Their debut album, The War Report, was important to East Coast hip-hop as it frontlined the tensions going on at the time between East and West Coast rappers, and it came in a time the bad boy era was running the radio with their shiny suit but mafioso style.
Everybody keep mentioning that, the shiny suit era.
With R&B hooks that became a secret weapon adopted by rap artists to this day. But The War Report was anything but that. Even their 96 single for the album LALA was a subtle sneak diss to the left coast in response to Snoop Dogg and the Dogg Pound's NYNY in the midst of the tension and radio-friendly dominance of Bad Boy Records. They were gritty, ready for rap war, and just on time to rep New York, which all helped Capone and Noreaga blow up into pre-rap stardom. Once hailed as next up from New York, with all the right backing initially in Mobb Deep, Nas, Tragedy, Gaddafi, and of course their skill, but as a duo, for these reasons, they ended up missing the mark. What happened? Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Let's get him. This video is sponsored by Loops for Producers, the #1 site to get sounds for your production. Simply click the genre and product that catches your eye. On the product page, listen to the demos and choose a rap artists from Queens, New York, Queensbridge, and Left Rack respectively that got their names Nori for a book he read in jail on Panamanian dictator Manuel Noreaga, and Capone earlier as a local DJ. Nori, who admits to dropping out of school in the 7th grade, has always
Damn.
been known as a troublemaker, and so was Capone.
7th
Which
grade
is
is
why
crazy.
Kiam Hawley and Victor Santiago Jr. would end up in the same Greenhaven Correctional Facility in 1992 at 15, 16 years old for unrelated attempted murder charges. The two, both being loudmouths, met through basketball games in the yard and through their shared love for rap music. Capone would receive parole first and link up with neighborhood friend Tragedy Gaddafi, who begins recording him. Then, when Nori got out, the two met and reconnected as friends before Tragedy placed them both in the studio together, officially as a duo for the first time, and showed them the ropes of how to make records. Side note, they were also this close to being a part of the duo Mobb Deep. They became Capone and Noreaga, or simply CNN. Stunt number 1, Capone couldn't stay home. After a little seasoning and co-signed from '95 breakout duo Mobb Deep, CNN was ready to go. In '96, they released their first single, Illegal Life. They were signed to Penalty Records, eventually Tommy Boy, who first encouraged the duo to quickly make a more radio-friendly single, since the previous Illegal Life and LALA cuts were good for local reception but had no crossover radio value. Nori recalls getting in a studio and looking around for inspiration for the song's hook before seeing the acronym TONY written on a 2-inch wheel in the studio that meant top of New York, and he added a little more that rhymed and had the same energy. The label loved it and a rollout date was set. Before CNN could finish their debut album, Capone would get locked up in '96 for parole violation charges, leaving Nori on his own for the first time, a time that was supposed to be a celebration. But the show went on. Nori recruited Havoc and Tragedy Gaddafi, who appeared on 9 out of the 20 songs on the album in Capone's absence, which was a blessing in disguise because of Mobb Deep's budding star power and Tragedy's underrated bars. When Capone went back to prison, it left Nori to finish the album with whatever help he could get and to perform and promote it by himself while Capone was down. The album was well received upon its release, receiving 4.5 mics in the source and peaking at 21 on the US charts, but because they didn't have a hit radio single, and mostly because Nori was without the duo's other half Capone during most of promotion, the album, sales-wise, was a disappointment. Once Capone got out, the two reunited and began work on their second studio album, The Reunion. Capone would be around for most of production of the album, but once again, before the album's release, he violated his parole and went back to prison. Although it may have strengthened their street cred, it hurt their ability to successfully roll out their early albums in a time as new artists. It was very important to become familiar with an artist's face and his personality. Commercially, this hurt CNN in a time much was expected of them. Stunt number 2, Nori's solo success / internal beef. While Capone was doing his best to self-sabotage CNN with his ill-timed prison stints, Nori was almost forced to go solo. In 1998, he released his solo debut, Nore, under Penalty and Tommy Boy. That was a huge
best project ever. Best project ever, hands down.
Huge success behind hip-hop classics Banned from TV, Nore, and Super Thug. The album landed number 1 on the hip-hop album charts, selling 165,000 first week, and featured on the hit video game Grand Theft Auto Liberty City. The album completely showed Nori's full ability to be street, commercial, and transcendent in tapping into his Hispanic side all in one, and springboarded him into solo success, going gold and eventually platinum. His sophomore album was successful, going gold, although wasn't as commercial as his first. By album 3 in 2002, Nori stamped himself as a solo star. Side note, many asked for a solo feature on Nori, but as you can see, as a solo artist, he was much better served and made hits and classic albums while doing so. He transitioned smoothly into what he's doing now, and I can only respect the career he's been able to carve out for himself. Album 3 featured his biggest single, Nothing, produced by Pharrell, which was a complete smash that could be a hit in any era of hip-hop. It sold well in the first and second week and peaked at number 3 in the US. Behind the scenes, he and Capone were having disagreements about Nori eventually signing to Jay-Z's Roc La Familia label, when Capone felt since he was from Queens, he should have signed with Nas if anything, seeing as Nas and Jay-Z had one of the biggest beefs in hip-hop, still tense around that time. Capone compared it to Memphis Bleek signing with Murder Inc., alluding to Nori not being loyal.
It's like, you know, Memphis Bleek signing with Murder Inc. or something, you know what I'm saying? Right. You gotta be loyal.
So they not cool or
Nori was
something?
also hurt because Capone wouldn't stand next to him when he returned to Queensbridge to do a show, seeing as he only had issues there because of Capone. Nori released his only album under Jay-Z in 2006, showcasing a new direction, incorporating reggaeton and Latino music to his catalog, which was widely regarded even though that may have missed its potential. Capone also released an album that year, but it wouldn't be until 2009 the two released another album together, their first in 9 years. Stunt number 3, Time Flew By. By all accounts, their 2010 release, The War Report 2, was a huge flop compared to the duo and Nori's earlier success, leading to Nori and Capone splitting to focus on solo ventures and their own music. Because of Capone's steady prison diet, he wasn't able to establish himself as a face in the game, one that could have been as big as a lot of rappers from his era as far as recognizability. Instead, he almost pushed Nori to go solo earlier than expected, and Nori found success. He also started making connections in the industry, and at some point his heart wasn't in making music as CNN any longer. He was crossing over into places the gritty Capone simply couldn't go. So much time away didn't polish or evolve Capone, along with the internal feuds they had that pushed them apart even more and further separated the gap in popularity between the two. After a while, it didn't feel like the same playing field to have them still rapping together, as if that time had long flew by. They did release a 5th album in 2015, closing out their respected but unfortunate hip-hop catalog. All in all, CNN was a group with a lot of potential early on.
Definitely.
That potential didn't hit its mark, but it did give the East Coast a face to stand behind during the East Coast-West Coast beef, and also saved New York gangsta street rap from the hands of Diddy and the shiny suit mafioso sound, and opened the doors for guys like DMX, Jadakiss, and 50 Cent to walk through. It also gave us Nori, who as mentioned was a great rap artist that produced hits in his time and classic hip-hop songs and albums. He evolved into a successful podcaster with one of the more successful shows on YouTube at the moment. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, CNN's growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music.
Yeah, shout out to Stunted Growth Music. I know what Nori's doing, so I just want to know, are they still cool or do they not rock with each other? Like, what's going on? I know, like I said, I know what Nori's doing. He got drink champs and stuff like that. But what is Capone doing? Y'all get in the comment section down below. Shout out to Queens. With that being said, I appreciate y'all for all the love and support. Love is love, and I'm going to catch y'all in the next video.